The maternity ward bustled with activity as Nurse Linda began her morning rounds. She moved from room to room, checking vital signs and offering words of encouragement to new mothers. As she approached room 312, Linda's practiced smile faltered. Something felt off. Anna, a first-time mother who had given birth yesterday, sat motionless in her bed, staring out the window. Linda's instincts, honed by years of experience, prickled with concern. She took a deep breath and entered the room, her voice warm and reassuring.
Good morning, Anna. How are you feeling today?
Anna's response was barely audible, her eyes never leaving the window.
I'm fine.
Linda moved closer, her trained gaze taking in every detail. Anna's body language spoke volumes, shoulders hunched, arms wrapped tightly around herself, flinching at the slightest sound from the hallway. These were red flags Linda had seen before, signs that pointed to a darker reality hidden behind closed doors. As Linda began her routine checks, she couldn't help but recall a recent training session. The sobering statistics about domestic violence during pregnancy and after childbirth sent a chill down her spine. That's when she saw the faint bruises peeking out from under Anna's hospital gown sleeve. Linda's heart raced, but she kept her voice steady.
Anna, I'm going to need to check your incision site. Is that okay?
Anna nodded, her eyes finally meeting Linda's. That moment, Linda saw a flicker of fear, desperation, a silent plea for help. As she carefully lifted Anna's gown, more bruises came into view, telling a story of violence that words couldn't express. Linda's mind raced as she considered her next steps. She knew the importance of creating a safe space, of asking the right questions without pushing too hard. Domestic violence victims often denied abuse out of fear or shame, and one wrong move could cause Anna to shut down completely. Taking a seat on the edge of the bed, Linda softened her voice.
Anna, I want you to know that you're safe here. If there's anything you want to talk about, anything at all, I'm here to listen.
The room fell silent, the only sound the steady beep of monitors and the distant cries of newborns. Linda waited, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that these next few moments could change the course of Anna's life and potentially save it. Linda leaned in closer, her voice gentle but filled with concern.
Anna, are you experiencing any pain or discomfort?
The young mother's body tensed visibly, her fingers clutching the bedsheet tightly. Anna's eyes darted around the room, avoiding Linda's gaze as she stammered out a response.
Oh, it's nothing. I'm just clumsy, that's all. You know how it is with pregnancy brain and all.
Anna let out a forced laugh that didn't reach her eyes. Linda recognized this response all too well, a common refrain among those trying to hide a painful truth. Linda knew she had to tread carefully. Pushing too hard could cause Anna to shut down completely, but ignoring the signs could have dire consequences. She thought back to her training, recalling how certain situations could escalate during pregnancy and the postpartum period.
Anna,
Linda began, choosing her words carefully.
I want you to know that you're safe here. Sometimes, after giving birth, women can experience difficulties at home. If there's anything you'd like to talk about, I'm here to listen without judgment.
She paused, giving Anna space to process her words. The room fell silent. The tension was obvious. Linda could almost see the internal struggle playing out across Anna's face. For a moment, it seemed like Anna might open up, her lips parting as if to speak. But then, as quickly as it appeared, the moment passed.
Really? It's fine.
Anna insisted, her voice stronger now but with an edge of desperation.
I just bumped into the door frame yesterday. You know how narrow those hospital bathroom doors are.
She attempted a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Linda nodded, not wanting to push further and risk alienating Anna completely. But her instincts were screaming that there was more to the story. As she finished her examination, Linda's mind raced with possible next steps. She knew she couldn't force Anna to disclose if she wasn't ready, but she also couldn't ignore the signs. The challenge now was to create an environment where Anna felt safe enough to reach out for help when she was ready. The air in the room felt heavy with unspoken truths. Linda knew that creating a safe space was just the first step, but what invisible barriers stood between Anna and the help she desperately needed? The nurse steeled herself for a delicate dance of trust and timing, knowing that one wrong move could shatter any chance of breaking through. Linda's eyes never left Anna as she continued her routine checks. She noticed the subtle signs of trauma she had seen many times: avoiding eye contact, tensed shoulders, and a tendency to make oneself physically smaller. These silent indicators spoke volumes about the deeper pain Anna was hiding. As Linda adjusted Anna's pillows, she observed the patient's slight flinch at her touch. The nurse's heart ached, recognizing the complex psychology at play. She knew from experience that direct questioning could backfire, causing victims to retreat further into denial. Instead, Linda decided to take a more subtle approach.
Anna,
Linda said softly.
I noticed you haven't eaten much today. Would you like me to bring you something from the cafeteria? I'm about to take my break, and I'd be happy to grab an extra sandwich.
This simple offer served multiple purposes. It showed care without pressure, created an opportunity for Linda to spend more time with Anna, and potentially opened the door for casual conversation. By framing it as a favor to herself, Linda hoped to bypass some of Anna's internal barriers. Anna's response was hesitant, but positive. It wasn't much, but it was a start, a crack in the protective walls she had built around herself. As Linda left the room to fetch their lunch, she began formulating her next steps. She would use this shared meal as an opportunity to build rapport, showing Anna that she was more than just another nurse. She was someone who genuinely cared. Linda also considered other trust-building strategies she could employ. She made a mental note to speak with Anna's doctor about involving a social worker or counselor who specialized in domestic abuse cases. Additionally, she planned to leave informational pamphlets about local support groups in Anna's room, giving her access to resources without the pressure of a direct confrontation. As she walked to the cafeteria, Linda reflected on the importance of patience in these situations. Trust wasn't built in a day, but with consistent care and gentle persistence, she hoped to create an environment where Anna would feel safe enough to open up and seek the help she needed. Linda entered Anna's room with a tray of food, her movements deliberate and non-threatening.
I hope you like turkey sandwiches,
She said warmly, keeping her voice soft.
The cafeteria makes them fresh daily.
Anna nodded, her eyes darting between Linda and the food.
Thank you.
She murmured, reaching hesitantly for a sandwich. Linda took a seat nearby, giving Anna space while remaining close enough for conversation. As they ate, Linda initiated a gentle dialogue, focusing on neutral topics like favorite foods and sharing amusing anecdotes from her nursing career. Her goal was to create a comfortable atmosphere where Anna might feel safe enough to open up. Linda maintained open body language and practiced active listening, validating Anna's feelings whenever she shared them. These techniques, recommended by experts in trauma-informed care, can help establish trust with vulnerable patients. As they talked, Linda noticed subtle changes in Anna's demeanor. The young mother's shoulders began to relax, and she occasionally made eye contact, offering brief smiles at Linda's jokes. These small signs of trust were encouraging, but Linda knew she had to proceed with caution. Research has shown that creating safe spaces in healthcare settings is crucial for identifying and supporting victims of domestic violence. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Nursing found that patients are more likely to disclose abuse when they feel they are in a non-threatening environment and have a trusting relationship with their healthcare provider. Linda carefully steered the conversation towards more personal topics, always giving Anna an easy out if she seemed uncomfortable.
How are you adjusting to motherhood?
She asked gently.
It can be quite overwhelming at first.
Anna's eyes clouded over, and she looked down at her hands.
It's harder than I expected.
She admitted softly. Linda nodded sympathetically, recognizing the opening for what it was, a tentative step towards honesty.
Many new mothers feel that way.
Linda reassured her.
It's okay to find it challenging. Is there anyone at home who's helping you?
She kept her tone casual, as if inquiring about a supportive partner rather than probing for signs of abuse. Anna's fingers tightened around her sandwich, and she swallowed hard.
My husband, he works a lot.
She said evasively. Linda noted the tension in Anna's voice, filing away this reaction for future consideration. As their meal drew to a close, Linda could sense a shift in the atmosphere. The rigid defensiveness that had characterized Anna's earlier behavior had softened somewhat, replaced by a fragile but palpable connection. It wasn't much, but it was a start, a foundation upon which Linda hoped to build further trust. As the meal's remnants were cleared away, an unseen clock began ticking. Linda took a deep breath, steeling herself for what she knew would be a pivotal moment. The rapport she'd built with Anna over their shared lunch had created a small window of opportunity, one that might not come again. With practiced calm, Linda gently closed the door, ensuring their privacy.
Anna,
Linda began, her voice soft but steady.
I want to ask you something important.
She paused, giving Anna a moment to prepare herself.
Do you feel safe at home?
The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Anna's eyes widened, her breath catching in her throat. For what felt like an eternity, the only sound in the room was the steady beep of medical equipment. Linda watched Anna carefully, noting the subtle signs of internal struggle playing across her face. Anna's hands trembled as she clutched the bedsheet, her knuckles turning white. She opened her mouth to speak, then closed it again, tears welling up in her eyes. Linda resisted the urge to fill the silence, knowing that giving Anna space to process was crucial. Seconds ticked by, each one feeling like an hour. Linda's heart raced, but she kept her expression open and supportive. She knew the delicate balance required in this moment. Too much pressure could cause Anna to retreat, but not enough could leave her in danger. Finally, Anna's resolve crumbled. A sob escaped her lips, and the tears she'd been holding back began to fall freely.
No,
She whispered, her voice barely audible.
I'm not safe. I'm so scared.
The admission hung in the air, both a relief and a new source of tension. Linda moved closer, offering a tissue and a comforting presence.
You're very brave for telling me, Anna.
She said gently.
Can you tell me more about what's happening?
Anna's words came in fits and starts, punctuated by quiet sobs. She spoke of escalating violence, of threats against her, and now her newborn child. The pregnancy, far from being a joyous time, had intensified her husband's controlling behavior and physical abuse. As Anna shared her story, Linda felt a mix of sorrow and determination. She knew that this moment of truth was just the beginning of a challenging journey for Anna. The road ahead would be difficult, but this first step, breaking the silence, was often the hardest and most crucial. As Anna's story unfolded, Linda began to formulate a plan. She knew that the next few hours would be critical in ensuring Anna's safety and setting her on a path towards freedom. But for now, her primary focus was on providing the support and validation that Anna so desperately needed. Linda's training hadn't prepared her for this. Behind Anna's brave facade lay a harrowing tale that would challenge everything the nurse thought she knew about protecting her patients. What hidden danger was lurking just beyond the hospital walls? As Anna's words tumbled out, Linda listened with growing concern. The young mother's story revealed a pregnancy marred by escalating violence and control. Her husband's possessiveness had intensified, isolating Anna from friends and family. Anna described how verbal attacks gave way to physical ones, carefully targeted to avoid visible marks or harm to the baby. Linda recognized this pattern, knowing that pregnancy often triggers or intensifies domestic violence as abusers feel a loss of control. The nurse's heart ached as Anna revealed the toll this abuse had taken on her health. Chronic stress and anxiety had plagued her throughout the pregnancy, increasing the risk of complications for both mother and child. Anna's voice trembled as she recounted her most recent ordeal. Just days before going into labor, her husband had assaulted her in a fit of rage. She'd managed to convince him she needed a hospital checkup, leading to her current admission for delivery. Linda felt a growing sense of urgency. Anna's fear of returning home was palpable, and with good reason. The period immediately following childbirth is often the most dangerous for victims of domestic violence, with new mothers particularly vulnerable. Anna's eyes filled with tears as she confessed her greatest fear.
He said if I ever tried to leave, he'd find us.
She whispered.
That he'd take the baby, and I'd never see either of them again.
This threat, Linda knew, was a common tactic used by abusers to keep their victims trapped. Linda took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenging conversation ahead. She needed to help Anna understand her options and available resources. But first, she had to address the immediate crisis at hand. Gently taking Anna's hand, Linda looked her in the eye.
Anna, I want you to know that you're not alone in this.
She said firmly.
What you're experiencing is not your fault, and there are people who can help you and your baby stay safe.
She saw a flicker of hope in Anna's eyes, quickly followed by fear and uncertainty. Linda's mind raced as she processed Anna's revelation. The gravity of the situation pressed down on her like a physical weight. She knew that time was limited. Every moment Anna remained in the hospital was a moment of relative safety, but it also brought them closer to potential danger. The nurse's eyes darted to the clock on the wall. Visiting hours would begin soon, and with them came the possibility that Anna's husband could arrive. Linda had to act strategically, balancing speed with caution. The stakes couldn't be higher. Linda was acutely aware of the dangers victims face when attempting to leave their abusers. The thought sent a chill down her spine. She couldn't let Anna become another tragic statistic. A study published in the Journal of Emergency Nursing highlighted how critical the first 24 to 48 hours are after a victim discloses abuse. This window of opportunity could mean the difference between successful intervention and a return to the cycle of violence. Linda weighed her options carefully. She could call security, but would that be too conspicuous? She could try to move Anna to a different room, but how would she explain that to her colleagues? Each potential solution came with its own set of risks and complications. As Linda deliberated, she remembered a crucial piece of information from her domestic violence training. Abusers often have a network of enablers, family members, friends, or even healthcare workers who unwittingly assist them in maintaining control over their victims. Linda realized she couldn't trust just anyone with this sensitive information. The tension in the room was palpable as Linda made her decision. She would need to call for help, but it had to be done discreetly. She couldn't risk word getting back to Anna's husband or alerting any potential sympathizers within the hospital. Linda squeezed Anna's hand reassuringly.
I'm going to step out for just a moment to get help.
She said softly.
I promise I'll be right back. You're safe here.
As she stood to leave, Linda saw a mix of relief and terror in Anna's eyes. The young mother nodded, clutching her newborn closer to her chest. As Linda approached the door, her mind was already racing through potential allies. Who could she trust with this delicate situation? The wrong choice could have disastrous consequences. She knew she needed someone with experience in handling domestic violence cases, someone who could navigate the complex legal and ethical landscape they were about to enter. Linda paused, her fingers hovering over the door handle. In that moment, she realized that sometimes the most powerful acts of heroism happen in complete silence. But as she prepared to set a covert plan in motion, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. What overlooked detail could jeopardize Anna's chance at freedom? With a deep breath, Linda stepped into the hallway and made her way to the security office. She sought out Officer James, a seasoned security guard with specialized training in domestic violence situations. Upon reaching the office, Linda quickly explained the situation, keeping her voice low and her demeanor calm. Together, they began crafting a strategy that would ensure Anna's safety without raising suspicion. They considered the hospital layout, shift changes, and the unpredictable nature of Anna's husband. To avoid visible main exits, Linda suggested a little-used service elevator near the maternity ward that led directly to a loading dock. Officer James agreed, but emphasized the need for a safe house and coordination with local law enforcement. As he made discreet calls to his contacts, Linda focused on moving Anna and her newborn without arousing suspicion among the hospital staff. They devised a plan to use a routine transfer as cover. Linda would request Anna's move to a different floor for additional postpartum monitoring, allowing them to guide her to the service elevator under the guise of standard procedure. As they fine-tuned the details, Linda arranged for a trusted nurse to take over her other patients. Officer James coordinated with an unmarked police vehicle to meet them at the loading dock. They established code words to signal safe movement over the hospital's communication system. With each passing minute, the tension grew. Linda knew that Anna's husband could arrive at any moment, potentially derailing their efforts. They had to act swiftly, but discreetly. As the plan came together, Linda marveled at the intricate web of support mobilizing for Anna and her child. From hospital security to local shelters and law enforcement, an entire network was working to help them escape a life of fear. While a web of support stood ready, the next few minutes would unfold in near silence. In the calm before the storm, Linda knew that the smallest sound or misstep could shatter their carefully crafted plan. How would they maintain their composure when every second felt like an eternity? Linda took a deep breath, steadying herself before re-entering Anna's room. She plastered on a reassuring smile, acutely aware that her body language could betray their plans. As she approached Anna's bedside, Linda noticed the young mother's hands trembling slightly as she cradled her newborn.
How are you feeling, Anna?
Linda asked, her voice calm and measured. She began her routine checks, maintaining an air of normalcy while her mind focused on their escape strategy. Anna's eyes darted nervously to the clock on the wall.
I'm okay, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Linda could see the internal struggle playing out on Anna's face, a mix of hope, fear, and uncertainty.
Drawing on her training in trauma-informed care, Linda employed techniques to help keep Anna calm. She used slow, deliberate movements and spoke in a soft, steady tone.
Remember to take deep breaths.
Linda gently reminded her.
Focus on the present moment.
Linda engaged Anna in light conversation about her baby, asking about feeding schedules and sleep patterns. This served a dual purpose. It helped distract Anna from her fears and maintain their cover of routine postpartum care. As the minutes ticked by, Linda discreetly checked her watch, knowing that Officer James and his team were waiting for the right moment to act. The hospital corridors would soon be bustling with the change of shift, providing the perfect cover for their escape. Anna's eyes kept darting to the door, her body tensing at every sound from the hallway. Linda recognized the signs of mounting panic and knew she had to intervene.
Anna,
She said softly, drawing the young mother's attention.
let's practice that breathing exercise we talked about earlier.
Linda guided Anna through a simple grounding technique, asking her to focus on her senses and name things she could see, touch, hear, smell, and taste in the room. This exercise, rooted in mindfulness practices, helped anchor Anna in the present moment and temporarily quieted her racing thoughts. As they completed the exercise, Linda noticed a subtle shift in Anna's demeanor. Her breathing had steadied, and some of the tension had eased from her shoulders. It wasn't a complete transformation, but it was enough to help Anna maintain her composure for what was to come. Suddenly, Linda's pager vibrated, the signal from Officer James that it was time to move. She turned to Anna, keeping her voice low and steady.
Anna, it's time. Are you ready?
Anna nodded, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. But as they stepped into the bustling hallway, a chilling realization struck Linda. In a hospital full of watchful eyes, how could they possibly slip away unnoticed? The next few minutes would test every ounce of their courage and cunning. Linda gently guided Anna out of bed, supporting her as she took her first tentative steps.
We're just going for a short walk.
Linda explained, loud enough for anyone nearby to hear.
It's important to get your circulation going after delivery.
Her voice was steady, betraying none of the anxiety churning inside her. As they moved through the maternity ward, Linda navigated the maze of corridors with practiced ease. She steered them towards a less frequented route that would lead to the service elevator, often used by maintenance staff. Every footstep echoed loudly in her ears as they turned each corner, the risk of discovery growing with each passing moment. They approached a busy intersection of hallways, and Linda felt her heart rate quicken. A group of medical students was gathered nearby, engrossed in discussion. Linda smoothly guided Anna to the opposite side, using a supply cart as a temporary shield. The newborn in Anna's arms stirred, threatening to cry out and draw attention. Anna quickly soothed the baby, her maternal instincts kicking in despite the tense situation. As they neared the service elevator, Linda spotted a security guard making his rounds. She calmly steered Anna into a nearby linen closet, pretending to search for a fresh blanket. The guard passed by without a second glance, and they continued their journey. Finally reaching the elevator, Linda pressed the call button, acutely aware of how exposed they were. Every second they waited felt like an eternity. When the doors slid open, Linda ushered Anna inside, her hand protectively on the young mother's back. The elevator descended smoothly towards the loading dock, where Officer James and his team were waiting. Linda watched the floor numbers tick down, each one bringing them closer to safety. She glanced at Anna, who was cradling her baby tightly, her eyes fixed on the doors. With a gentle lurch, the elevator came to a stop. Linda's breath caught in her throat as the doors opened, revealing the dimly lit loading area. She peered out cautiously, scanning for any signs of danger. To her immense relief, she spotted Officer James, standing by an unmarked vehicle, his posture alert but calm. Linda guided Anna out of the elevator and towards the waiting car. Each step felt like a small victory, bringing them closer to freedom. As they reached Officer James, Linda saw tears of relief welling up in Anna's eyes. The reality of their escape was finally sinking in. As Anna's tears of relief fell, a new shadow loomed on the horizon. What if the greatest threat to her safety wasn't her abuser, but a well-meaning friend? In the world of domestic violence intervention, good intentions can sometimes pave the road to disaster. Linda exhaled deeply as she watched the car carrying Anna and her baby disappear into the night. As she turned to head back into the hospital, her mind raced with the next steps they needed to take to ensure Anna's continued safety. Just as Linda reached for the door handle, she heard a familiar voice call out her name. Her blood ran cold as she recognized Sarah, a fellow nurse from the maternity ward, jogging towards her with a piece of paper in hand.
Linda, I'm so glad I caught you,
Sarah said, slightly out of breath.
I was looking for Anna. Her husband just called the nurse's station asking about her. He sounded really worried.
Linda's heart pounded in her chest. This was exactly the kind of situation they had feared. A well-meaning colleague inadvertently jeopardizing Anna's escape. Linda knew she had to think fast.
Oh, thanks for letting me know, Sarah.
Linda said, forcing a calm smile.
I actually just transferred Anna to a different floor for some additional monitoring. Standard procedure, you know.
Sarah's brow furrowed in confusion.
Really? I didn't see any transfer orders in the system. And why would we move a new mother in the middle of the night?
Linda felt a bead of sweat form on her forehead. She knew that misinformation could be disastrous in domestic violence interventions. A study published in the Journal of Emergency Nursing highlighted how crucial it was for all hospital staff to be trained in recognizing and handling potential domestic violence situations.
It was a last-minute decision.
Linda explained, thinking on her feet.
We noticed some concerning vital signs and wanted to err on the side of caution. I was just about to update the system.
Sarah still looked skeptical.
Well, what should I tell her husband? He seemed really anxious to speak with her.
Linda's mind raced.
You know what? I'll handle that call personally,
She offered.
Given the delicate nature of Anna's condition, it's best if I explain the situation to her husband directly.
Sarah nodded, seemingly satisfied with this explanation.
All right, if you're sure. I'll let the nurse's station know you'll be handling it.
As Sarah turned to leave, Linda felt a mixture of relief and renewed anxiety. She had managed to prevent a potential disaster, but for how long? How many more well-intentioned colleagues might inadvertently put Anna at risk? Linda knew she needed to act quickly. She hurried back to the nurse's station, her mind already formulating a plan. She would need to brief the night staff, create a believable cover story, and ensure that all communication regarding Anna was funneled through her or Officer James. While Linda worked frantically behind the scenes, an unexpected visitor arrived at the hospital's front desk. Could the staff maintain their composure in the face of a ticking time bomb? The automatic doors slid open, revealing a man whose tense posture and furrowed brow betrayed his agitation. Anna's husband strode purposefully to the reception desk, his eyes darting around the lobby. The receptionist, Janet, immediately sensed the tension radiating from him.
I'm here to see my wife, Anna,
He demanded, his voice strained with barely contained anger.
She just had our baby and I can't reach her on her phone. Where is she?
Janet maintained a calm demeanor, her voice steady as she responded.
Of course, sir. Let me check our system for you. May I have your wife's full name?
As Janet pretended to search the computer, she employed specific strategies designed to create a buffer between potential aggressors and their targets. These tactics aimed to buy precious time for security to intervene if necessary.
I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not seeing any current patients by that name.
Janet said, her tone apologetic but firm.
Are you certain she was admitted to this hospital?
The man's frustration visibly increased.
Of course I'm sure.
He snapped.
I drove her here myself yesterday. She has to be here.
Janet nodded sympathetically.
I understand your concern. Let me contact the maternity ward directly and see if I can get more information for you. Please have a seat in our waiting area, and I'll update you as soon as I can.
As the man reluctantly moved away from the desk, Janet discreetly signaled to her colleague to alert security. The staff's challenge was to keep him contained without escalating the situation. Minutes ticked by, each one ratcheting up the tension in the lobby. The man paced restlessly, alternating between checking his phone and glaring at the reception desk. Other visitors in the waiting area began to take notice, some shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Security officers strategically positioned themselves near the exits, their presence subtle but unmistakable. They were prepared to intervene if necessary, closely monitoring the man's body language and behavior for signs of escalation. Janet maintained a calm exterior as she pretended to make calls and check records. She knew that every moment she could delay him was another moment of safety for Anna and her baby. But she also recognized the delicate balance they were treading. Push too hard, and the situation could explode. After what seemed like an eternity, Linda arrived at the reception area, her face a mask of professional concern. She approached the man, introducing herself as the charge nurse from the maternity ward.
Sir, I understand you're looking for your wife.
Linda said, her voice steady.
I'm afraid there's been some confusion. Due to a computer glitch, your wife's records were temporarily misplaced. She's currently undergoing some routine postpartum tests. I assure you she's receiving excellent care, but we can't allow visitors during these procedures. If you'd like to wait, I can update you as soon as she's available.
The man's eyes narrowed suspiciously, but Linda's authoritative tone seemed to give him pause.
How long will these tests take?
He demanded.
It's hard to say exactly.
Linda replied.
Every patient is different, but I promise to keep you informed. In the meantime, our cafeteria is open if you'd like to get something to eat.
While Anna's husband reluctantly headed towards the cafeteria, Linda received an urgent message on her pager. The next few minutes would determine whether their carefully laid plans would succeed or crumble. As she hurried towards a secluded corner of the hospital, Linda's mind raced with possibilities. What could be so urgent? Linda's heart skipped a beat when she saw Officer James waiting for her, his expression grave.
We've got a situation,
He said in a low voice.
The undercover operation needs more time to gather crucial evidence against Anna's husband.
The revelation hit Linda hard. She had been so focused on getting Anna to safety that she hadn't considered the broader implications. Officer James quickly outlined their needs. We're working on electronic evidence from his phone and car. Every minute you can keep him here increases our chances of building a solid case. Linda nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation.
What do you need me to do?
She asked, her voice steady despite the tension coursing through her.
Keep Anna's husband occupied without arousing suspicion.
Officer James replied.
If he suspects anything, he might destroy evidence or try to find Anna.
Linda took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenge ahead. This was a different kind of pressure than her usual medical emergencies, with lives at stake and the slightest misstep risking disastrous consequences. With a plan forming in her mind, Linda headed back towards the main hospital area. She would use her medical expertise to create a plausible reason for Anna's extended absence, perhaps suggesting routine complications requiring additional monitoring. It was a delicate balance, providing enough information to satisfy Anna's husband without giving him cause for alarm or suspicion. As she walked, Linda marveled at the intricate web of support mobilized around Anna. From healthcare providers to law enforcement, each person played a crucial role in this high-stakes operation, showcasing the power of collaboration in combating domestic violence. The minutes ticked by like hours as Linda navigated conversation with Anna's husband, fielding his increasingly agitated questions with calm professionalism. She could feel the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, knowing that every moment she bought was another piece of evidence gathered, another step towards justice for Anna. Just when Linda felt her composure beginning to crack under the pressure, she noticed a subtle signal from Officer James across the room. Her heart leapt. Could it be over? Had they gathered what they needed? Officer James's signal was just the beginning. In the world of domestic violence intervention, the most dangerous moment often comes when justice is about to be served. As the pieces fell into place, Linda realized that the next few minutes would determine Anna's fate, and potentially her own. The hospital corridor buzzed with an electric tension as Officer James discreetly approached Linda.
"We've got everything we need,"
He whispered.
"It's time to move."
Linda's heart raced as she processed the implications. The undercover operation had succeeded in gathering crucial evidence, but now came the most precarious part of their plan: arresting Anna's husband in a public setting. Linda knew the importance of keeping Anna's location confidential. Even the slightest hint of her whereabouts could jeopardize her safety. As Officer James briefed her on the arrest plan, Linda focused on her role in the operation. The officers began to move into position, their movements subtle yet purposeful. Linda watched as they strategically placed themselves around the cafeteria, blending in with the bustling hospital environment. She admired their ability to maintain an air of normalcy while preparing for such a critical operation. Linda approached Anna's husband, her role now shifting from caregiver to an unwitting part of the arrest strategy. She had to keep him engaged and unaware until the officers were ready to make their move.
Mr. Johnson,
She called out, maintaining a professional demeanor.
I have an update on your wife's condition. Would you mind stepping over here with me?
As she led him away from the crowded cafeteria, Linda concentrated on maintaining a calm exterior. She focused on her breathing, her years of nursing experience serving her well in this moment of crisis.
In a matter of seconds, officers converged on Anna's husband from all directions.
"Sir, you're under arrest,"
Came the authoritative voice of Officer James. The team executed their plan with precision, swiftly restraining the man before he could fully process what was happening. The arrest unfolded without incident. Anna's husband, caught off guard and surrounded, offered no resistance. As he was led away in handcuffs, Linda felt a wave of relief wash over her. Yet, beneath the surface, a lingering concern for Anna's well-being remained, reminding her that their work was far from over. The handcuffs clicked shut, but for Anna, they opened a door to an uncertain future. How does a woman who's known only fear begin to trust in safety? As the dust settled, Anna found herself standing at the precipice of a life she never dared to dream possible. In the quiet aftermath of the arrest, Anna sat in a private room, her newborn nestled in her arms. The adrenaline that had carried her through the escape was fading, replaced by a whirlwind of emotions. Relief, fear, hope, and uncertainty battled for dominance as she tried to process the monumental shift in her reality. Linda entered the room, her presence a comforting anchor in Anna's turbulent world.
How are you feeling?
She asked gently, taking a seat beside the bed. Anna's eyes welled with tears as she struggled to find the words.
I don't know.
She whispered, her voice trembling.
What happens now?
This question echoed the challenges faced by many survivors of domestic violence. The National Coalition Against Domestic Violence reports that leaving an abusive relationship is just the first step in a long journey of healing and rebuilding. Survivors often grapple with financial instability, legal battles, and the daunting task of establishing independence after years of control. Linda outlined the immediate steps they would take to ensure Anna's safety and stability. She explained the process of obtaining a restraining order and working with a victim advocate to create a comprehensive safety plan.
We'll also connect you with counseling services and explore safe housing options.
Linda added, her tone both reassuring and practical. As Anna began to absorb the information, Linda gently steered the conversation towards the future.
Have you thought about what you might want to do once you're settled?
She asked. Anna looked down at her sleeping child, a flicker of determination crossing her face.
I want to finish my degree.
She said softly, surprising herself with the clarity of the goal.
I always dreamed of becoming a teacher.
Linda nodded encouragingly.
That's a wonderful goal. We can definitely work towards that.
She began to outline potential educational programs and financial aid options, her expertise evident in the depth of her knowledge. As they talked, Anna's posture began to relax slightly, her mind starting to engage with possibilities rather than fears. As their conversation drew to a close, Anna reached out and grasped Linda's hand.
Thank you.
She said, her voice choked with emotion.
I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't noticed, if you hadn't cared.
Linda squeezed her hand in return, her eyes reflecting a mix of compassion and resolve.
This is just the beginning.
She said softly.
You've taken the hardest step. Now, we move forward together.
One nurse's instinct had saved a life, but could it change an entire healthcare system? As Anna began her journey to recovery, the hospital administration faced a challenge that would test their commitment to patient safety beyond traditional medical care. The hospital's chief medical officer, Dr. Samantha Chen, presented research from the Journal of American Medical Association, which revealed that hospitals with standardized screening protocols identified up to 30% more cases of domestic violence compared to those without such measures.
This is about providing holistic care that addresses all factors affecting our patients' health,
she emphasized. The complexities of implementing a screening program became apparent. Privacy concerns, staff training requirements, and the need for seamless collaboration with local support services all presented significant challenges. The legal team raised questions about liability and potential false positives, while the finance department expressed concerns about implementation costs. Dr. James Foster, head of the emergency department, shared a poignant anecdote.
Just last week, we treated a woman for her third accidental fall this year. I can't help but wonder if we could have intervened earlier if we had the right protocols in place.
After careful deliberation, the administration voted to implement a comprehensive domestic violence screening program, marking a pivotal moment in the hospital's history. In the following weeks, the hospital underwent significant changes. Staff received intensive training to recognize signs of abuse and respond appropriately. Partnerships formed with local domestic violence shelters and legal aid organizations to ensure a robust support system for identified victims. The screening process was designed to be both thorough and sensitive. Every patient would be asked standardized questions during their intake process, with follow-up protocols for those showing potential signs of abuse. The hospital invested in secure technology to ensure patient privacy and confidentiality throughout the process. This new policy not only aimed to protect patients like Anna, but also set a new standard for healthcare institutions across the country. By addressing the often overlooked intersection of healthcare and domestic violence, the hospital took a significant step towards more comprehensive patient care. As the hospital's new system took root, whispers of change echoed far beyond its walls. Could a single institution's policy shift the entire landscape of healthcare? The answer would soon emerge, challenging long-held assumptions about the role of medical professionals in addressing societal issues. News of the hospital's domestic violence screening policy spread rapidly through medical circles, sparking intense debates among administrators, physicians, and patient advocates. The ripple effect was undeniable as hospitals across the country grappled with the decision to adopt similar measures. Patient safety organizations and advocacy groups highlighted the potential life-saving impact of standardized screening, while many hospitals cited concerns about resource allocation, staff training, and potential legal implications. Dr. Sarah Thompson, a healthcare policy expert, explained,
Introducing a comprehensive screening program requires a fundamental shift in how we approach patient care. It involves reimagining the role of healthcare providers in addressing social determinants of health.
Research published in the New England Journal of Medicine found that hospitals with comprehensive domestic violence screening programs identified up to 40% more cases of abuse compared to those without such measures. These institutions also reported improved health outcomes for patients who received early intervention and support. As the movement gained momentum, professional medical associations took notice. The American Hospital Association convened a task force to develop best practices and guidelines for implementing screening programs, marking a significant step towards potentially making such screenings a standard of care across the nation. However, the path to widespread adoption faced obstacles. Smaller rural hospitals expressed concerns about their ability to provide adequate follow-up support for identified victims. Privacy advocates raised questions about data protection and patient confidentiality. These challenges underscored the need for a nuanced, adaptable approach to policy implementation. Dr. Michael Chen, chief of emergency medicine at a major urban hospital, shared his perspective. "We're watching this development closely. The potential to save lives is enormous, but we need to ensure we can implement such a program effectively and sustainably." Despite the hurdles, a growing number of healthcare institutions recognize the imperative to act. Dr. Lisa Patel, a longtime advocate for integrating social care into medical practice, observed,
"We're seeing a paradigm shift in how we define quality healthcare. It's no longer enough to treat physical symptoms. We must address the underlying factors that impact our patients' well-being."
As more institutions considered adopting the policy, anticipation built within the medical community. The ongoing debates and emerging research continued to shape the conversation around the role of healthcare in addressing domestic violence, setting the stage for potential systemic changes in patient care across the nation. While the medical community debated policy changes, a quieter revolution was taking place in the life of one survivor. Can a person truly rebuild after experiencing such profound trauma? Anna's story would push the boundaries of resilience and redefine what it means to reclaim one's life. Anna's journey toward healing and independence began in a small, sunlit room at a local women's shelter. The weight of her past hung heavy on her shoulders, but the gentle coos of her newborn provided a constant reminder of why she had taken this leap into the unknown. As she settled into her temporary home, Anna faced the daunting task of rebuilding her life from the ground up. The challenges ahead were numerous and often overwhelming. Anna grappled with financial insecurity, gaps in her work history, and the emotional toll of her experiences. However, she found herself surrounded by a network of support. The shelter provided access to counseling services, job training programs, and childcare assistance. These resources, part of a comprehensive rehabilitation approach, aimed to address the multifaceted needs of survivors. Anna's days took on a new rhythm as she navigated this unfamiliar terrain. She participated in parenting classes, job skills workshops, and therapy sessions. Each small accomplishment became a victory to be celebrated. One of the most transformative aspects of Anna's journey came through her participation in a support group for survivors. In this safe space, she found validation for her experiences and hope for her future. As time passed, subtle changes emerged in Anna. She began to voice her opinions in group discussions, rediscovering a strength she had forgotten she possessed. Her progress manifested in tangible ways. She learned to manage her anxiety through mindfulness techniques, developed a financial plan for independence, and even started a small side business, selling handmade crafts online. When Anna landed her first job, a part-time position at a local daycare center, it marked a significant milestone. She navigated the challenges of balancing work and single parenthood, drawing on the skills she had developed at the shelter. Her colleagues noted her natural affinity with children, and she soon became a valued team member. The road to recovery remained complex. There were days when the weight of her past threatened to overwhelm her. In these moments, Anna leaned on her coping strategies and the support of her newfound community. She also found solace in journaling, using writing as a tool to process her emotions and track her progress. As Anna's confidence grew, so did her desire to give back. She began volunteering at the shelter, sharing her story with new arrivals. She also became involved in community outreach programs, speaking at local schools about healthy relationships and the warning signs of abuse. Her experience became a beacon of hope for others just beginning their journey to freedom, and Anna discovered that helping others was a powerful part of her healing process. The shelter had become Anna's sanctuary, a place where her story inspired hope. But what if her voice could echo beyond these walls? As she stood at the precipice of a life-changing decision, Anna wondered, could the very pain that once silenced her become the catalyst for a movement? Anna's transformation from a frightened victim to a confident survivor had been remarkable, but she felt an irresistible urge to do more. The faces of women she'd met at the shelter, each carrying their scars of abuse, haunted her thoughts. She knew her story could offer them hope, but the prospect of sharing it with a wider audience filled her with a mixture of determination and dread. As Anna contemplated taking this bold step, she grappled with the fear of public speaking and the potential stigma that often accompanies domestic violence survivors. The thought of standing in front of strangers, laying bare the most vulnerable moments of her life made her palms sweat and her heart race. Yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that her experiences could make a difference. Research has shown the power of survivor testimonies in raising awareness about domestic violence. Personal narratives are significantly more effective in changing attitudes and increasing empathy towards survivors compared to statistical information alone. Anna's story had the potential to put a human face on an issue often shrouded in silence and misconception. As she prepared for her first speaking engagement, Anna worked closely with counselors at the shelter to craft her message. They helped her navigate the delicate balance between sharing her truth and protecting her privacy. Each rehearsal brought a mix of anxiety and catharsis as Anna relieved her past, transforming her pain into a powerful narrative of resilience and hope. Anna chose a local community center as the venue for her first public speech, knowing that her words might reach not only potential victims, but also bystanders who could play a crucial role in recognizing and reporting abuse. The weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders, but it was balanced by a newfound sense of purpose. As she began to speak, her voice grew stronger with each word. She shared the subtle ways her ex-husband had isolated her from friends and family, the gradual erosion of her self-esteem, and the turning point that gave her the courage to leave. As she spoke, she saw recognition dawn in the eyes of some audience members, while others listened with growing understanding and empathy. When Anna finished her speech, the room erupted in applause, but it was the aftermath that truly demonstrated the impact of her bravery. Women approached her, some with tears in their eyes, sharing whispered confessions of their own struggles. Others asked for information on local resources, determined to help friends or family members they now recognized might be in abusive situations. Anna's journey from survivor to advocate had begun. Her personal story, now a powerful tool for change, was helping to break the silence surrounding domestic violence and inspiring others to seek help or offer support. As she left the community center that day, Anna felt a new chapter of her life unfolding, one where her past pain could become a source of strength and hope for countless others. As Anna's words rippled through the community, another hero of this story grappled with her profound impact. Nurse Linda had saved one life, but could she ignite a movement? The answer would push her to confront the very limits of her profession and herself. Back at the hospital, Linda found herself lost in thought. Replaying the events that had unfolded since that fateful day, she noticed Anna's bruises. The successful intervention had sparked significant changes within the hospital, but Linda couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to be done. She wondered how many other victims of domestic violence had passed through her care unnoticed, their silent cries for help going unanswered. Linda realized the unique position healthcare professionals held in combating domestic violence. A study in the Journal of Emergency Nursing highlighted that healthcare providers are often the first point of contact for abuse victims, with up to 44% of women experiencing domestic violence seeking medical care for related injuries. This statistic underscored the critical importance of proper training and awareness among medical staff. However, the path forward was not without its challenges. Linda's research into the impact of working with domestic violence cases on healthcare professionals revealed sobering findings. A survey published in the International Journal of Nursing Studies showed that nurses involved in domestic violence intervention faced high rates of burnout and secondary traumatic stress. The emotional toll of bearing witness to such intense suffering day after day could be overwhelming, leading to compassion, fatigue, and decreased effectiveness in providing care. Determined to address these challenges, Linda approached the hospital administration with a proposal for a comprehensive training program. Her curriculum would equip nurses with the tools to identify potential abuse victims and provide appropriate support and resources. It would cover the clinical aspects of recognizing abuse, as well as the emotional and psychological components of working with trauma survivors. Linda's program emphasized the importance of self-care and boundary setting to prevent burnout. She incorporated strategies for maintaining emotional resilience, such as regular debriefing sessions, access to counseling services, and rotational assignments to prevent prolonged exposure to high-stress cases. The proposal also included a mentorship component, pairing experienced nurses with newer staff to provide ongoing support and guidance. To ensure the program's effectiveness, Linda suggested implementing a data tracking system to monitor intervention rates and outcomes. This would allow for continuous improvement and adaptation of the training based on real-world results. She also proposed collaborating with local domestic violence shelters and advocacy groups to create a seamless referral system for patients needing additional support. As Linda presented her proposal, she felt a sense of purpose, unlike anything she had experienced before in her career. She realized that by training others and creating systemic change, she could multiply her impact exponentially, potentially reaching countless victims who might otherwise slip through the cracks. With this comprehensive approach, Linda was not just addressing individual cases, but working to transform the healthcare system's response to domestic violence as a whole. Linda's training program was poised to transform her hospital, but little did she know it would soon capture the attention of an entire country. As lawmakers and medical professionals clashed over the boundaries of healthcare activism, a startling statistic emerged that would change everything. What hidden truth about domestic violence was about to be revealed? The story of Linda and Anna's stand against domestic violence quickly gained national attention, sparking intense debates across the country. Their efforts put a human face on a crisis that had long lurked in the shadows, challenging traditional boundaries of medical practice. Medical professionals found themselves grappling with new ethical dilemmas. Critics argued that involving healthcare workers in domestic violence screening went beyond the scope of medical practice. They raised concerns about privacy violations, potential false accusations, and the burden on already overworked staff. Some physicians worried that addressing social issues might detract from treating physical ailments. Proponents, however, pointed to mounting evidence of the profound health impacts of domestic violence. A groundbreaking study in the Journal of the American Medical Association revealed that women who experienced intimate partner violence had significantly higher rates of chronic health conditions, mental health disorders, and substance abuse problems. This research underscored the connection between social factors and physical well-being. The debate took an unexpected turn when a coalition of hospital administrators and civil liberties groups raised concerns about legal liability and patient autonomy. They argued that mandatory screening could violate patient privacy rights and potentially deter individuals from seeking medical care. These objections added a new layer of complexity to the ongoing discussions. Researchers continued to study the impact of healthcare activism. A comprehensive analysis in the New England Journal of Medicine found that hospitals implementing domestic violence screening programs saw a 30% increase in the identification of abuse cases and a 25% reduction in repeat emergency room visits related to domestic violence. These findings provided compelling evidence of the potential for healthcare interventions to create lasting positive change. As public awareness grew and evidence mounted, new challenges emerged. Healthcare providers grappled with implementing screening protocols while maintaining patient trust. Hospitals faced logistical hurdles in training staff and establishing partnerships with local support services. Meanwhile, policymakers struggled to craft legislation that would balance public health concerns with individual freedoms. The ongoing debates highlighted the complexity of addressing societal issues through healthcare. As the country grappled with these challenges, it became clear that the impact of Linda and Anna's initial efforts would continue to ripple through the medical community and beyond, reshaping perceptions of healthcare's role in society. Linda's courageous action to help Anna had far-reaching effects, influencing hospital policies and sparking a national dialogue. This demonstrates how individual acts of compassion can lead to significant societal changes. The power to make a difference lies in our everyday actions. When you encounter a situation that seems unjust or concerning, take notice and consider how you might help. Your observation or intervention could be crucial for someone in need. Remember, positive change starts with small actions. If you want to continue standing up against injustice, click left to watch our eye-opening video where a teacher's racist behavior shocks the school after targeting the principal's daughter. Or, click right to see the powerful story of Tara, a Black woman facing racial bias during labor,